The thing about painting a lighthouse is that you spend more time watching weather than watching paint dry. I knew the breathing patterns of fog the way a shepherd knows the moods of sheep. Where it curled like quiet wool around the shoals, how it thickened after dusk when it thinned to reveal the jagged fringe of coal-black rocks. On West Haven Point, that knowledge was as crucial as primer and brush, because the lighthouse itself, Whitefin Light, stood in constant courtship with mist. Tourists came to gawk at the drama, but we locals depended on it. Every autumn, the city fathers made entertainment of our peril by hosting the Coastal Fog Competition, a 3-day spectacle in which skippers from up and down the coast raced between fixed buoys, trusting charts and nerve while landlubbers wagered from the pier. Whitefin Light provided the anchor point for the final leg. On competition nights I lit extra flares so crews could find the finish. The lighthouse supply boat, Plover, ferried drums of lamp oil, spare bulbs, and my paint. Her captain, Daisy Markham, had the uncanny skill of docking blindfolded in pea soup. This year I'd begged Daisy to bring a new marine enamel, storm cloud blue, to freshen the iron balcony. She'd radioed at dawn. "Painter man, I'll be tied up by 11. Keep your ladder ready." 11 came and went, and the fog arrived before she did, rushing in like theatre curtains. That was unusual. Daisy timed tides and fog as carefully as I timed coats of varnish. I was testing the bend of my paint scraper when the harbour siren shrieked. The horn sounded whenever a vessel drifted off course toward the shallows. But Daisy off course? Impossible. Nonetheless, I jogged down the spiral tower stairs, boots clanging, and reached the quay in time to see Mayor Seabrook pacing with the harbour master. Spectators for the competition huddled nearby, their bright scarves fading into the grey. "What happened?" I asked. Seabrook brushed fog beads from his lapels. "We lost contact with the Plover. Last radio transmission put her approaching buoy 4, then silence. Could be a dead set of batteries, could be sabotage," the harbour master muttered. Sabotage. That word snapped something in me. For weeks, rumours circulated that certain betting syndicates wanted this year's competition delayed. With shipping traffic rerouted for the event, every cancelled race meant thousands in penalties. If someone tampered with a vessel... I scanned the water, saw nothing but shifting grey. "I'm taking the launch," I said, gesturing to the spindly motor dinghy we kept moored alongside the light. "Hold on there, Elon," Seabrook warned. "We've activated the Coast Guard. They're 30 minutes out. You need eyes now." I untied the dinghy, kicked the outboard, and motored slowly, sounding the handheld foghorn. The harbour swallowed noise the way wet wool swallows die, muffled, directionless. The last time I'd been out in such murk was 3 years earlier, when a trawler split on Cutter Reef. That night I'd watched men pulled from the surf like broken oars. Daisy had captained the rescue boat that saved 3 deckhands. She would never vanish without raising an alarm. The dinghy's bow grazed buoy 4's chain. No sign of Plover. I killed the motor, drifted, listened. Then I noticed a shape bobbing near a kelp mat, a small wooden crate, paint spattered. My crate. The marine enamel Daisy was delivering. I hooked it aboard, pried the lid. Inside, tins rattled, but one corner reeked of gasoline, not enamel. Someone had emptied a fuel can over the top, then rehung the lid to look undisturbed. I hardly had time to mull before the fog parted just enough to reveal a smear of orange 30 yards off, Plover's life ring, floating free. No hull, no mast, no Daisy. I radioed the Coast Guard, gave coordinates, then motored back. By afternoon, the search grid had spiraled outward, divers probed the shoals, and word spread through taverns faster than spilled grog. Daisy Markham was missing. Everyone mourned abruptly, as though hope itself were an extravagance. Everyone except me. I had a paint crate soaked in gasoline, and a gut telling me someone wanted the plover lost. That evening, I climbed to the lantern room to finish touch-ups. The fog competition wasn't cancelled yet, and the lighthouse must shine. Up there, wind hammered the panes. Fog bowed against glass like 1,000 sheep exhaling. While painting, I replayed memories. Daisy laughing at my smeared cheeks, Daisy chiding me for clumsy knots, Daisy promising me a signed ration slip to impress the provincial museum. Anger made me reckless with my brushstrokes. Blue flecks spattered the lamp pedestal. I cleaned them, muttering. When I scrubbed, something clinked under the metal grate. A brass watch fob, its chain snapped. I fished it out. Monogram, DM Daisies. I'd seen it pocket-watched to her vest 100 times. How had it reached my lantern room? She hadn't been inside the lighthouse for a month. A prickle nipped the back of my neck. Someone had been up here before me. I reported the fob to the constable. He thumbed it, unconvinced. Could be she visited and dropped it earlier. No. I found fresh boot prints in the dust near the service ladder. Somebody came up today. Constable Bligh gave a non-committal grunt. We'd been school rivals. He disliked my certainty, and returned to notes. I left the station fuming and walked the pier. Vagrants clustered around fish oil braziers. Tourists clutched cocoa. All talk was Daisy, Daisy, Daisy. But amidst the worry, buzz of wagers resumed, bookies adjusting odds now that the plover, baseline supply vessel of every competition, was out of play. The next morning, Mayor Seabrook summoned key personnel to City Hall: Harbour Master, Coast Guard Liaison, Event Committee Chairwoman, and me as lighthouse caretaker. He cleared his throat. With heavy heart, we suspend the coastal fog competition until Captain Markham's fate is known. Groans rippled from business owners invested in event revenue. I expected relief. Suspension meant fewer boats churning blind through Daisy's search zone, but my suspicion sharpened. If sabotage aimed merely to postpone, mission accomplished. Would the perpetrators quit now? Or would they cover tracks? After the meeting, I cornered Cleve Farnham, the bookie rumoured to bankroll half the underdock wages. You heard anything on Daisy? He tapped ash from a cigar. Only that a whiskey barrel floated in this morning, with her name scrawled inside. Probably driftwood mischief. I pictured the gasoline-soaked paint crate, flotsam planted to mislead search patterns. Who'd profit if the competition collapsed? Cleve chuckled. Profit? Everyone with freight stuck in offshore anchor. Whoever owns the tug fleet billing over time, maybe. He flicked his eyes seaward. Or someone who couldn't afford to lose. That evening, I walked Whitefin's spiral again, mind whirring, and nearly collided with Bligh descending. "What are you doing here?" I demanded. "Following up." He flashed Daisy's fob. "Found dye residue on the chain, same storm cloud blue you ordered. Think she visited while you painted. I told you this morning's footprints were fresh." He shrugged and continued down. I unlocked the lantern room hatch, stepped inside, and inhaled a faint chemical tang. Not my enamel. Solvent. I knelt and peeled back a burlap tarp covering supply crates. Nestled among oil drums sat a cloth satchel that did not belong. Inside, spooled wire, a rudimentary timer, homemade incendiary. Whoever hid it likely planned to ignite the lighthouse after sunset, deflecting attention from deeper crimes. Daisy's vanishing had not been enough. They wanted the tower dark. Without Whitefin's beacon, the coast would close, competition cancelled indefinitely, salvage outfits flush. I cradled the device as though it were a startled dove, carried it to the service sink, and doused the timer battery before alerting the Coast Guard team stationed below. They whisked it away for forensics. By dawn, my suspicion earned vindication. Prints on the satchel matched a deckhand from the salvage tug Kraken's Hook, a man named Rusk. The hook's owner, Silas Geary, had lobbied for years to scrap the fog competition, calling it reckless carnival folly. Yet his tug collected handsome fees towing disabled racers. Bligh, Seabrook and I confronted Geary aboard his moored tug at sunup. The old man was moray eel lean, his eyes buried in wrinkles from a life squinting through spray. "My lads didn't plant bombs," he rasped. "Some drifter borrowed gear. I file no shortage reports because nothing missing." "Captain Markham is missing," I shot back. "And your hand Rusk tried to cripple the lighthouse." Geary shrugged. "Ask him, not me." But Rusk was missing too. Vanished last night, they said, casino lights swallowing him. Stalemate. The Coast Guard continued dragging channels, divers mapped every crevice. Yet no plover surfaced, no Daisy, no Rusk. The lighthouse kept burning nightly, but I slept by day in snatches, waiting for the next move. On third night, wind changed. The fog parted enough to reveal something wedged between tooth-point rocks, an overturned hull. Searchlights confirmed burnt orange paint. Plover. She lay keel up like a gutted whale, cabin roof stove in. Divers reported scorch marks along the steering box and a slashed fuel line. Someone had sabotaged her at sea, set fire, expected her to sink deep. Instead, wave and tide shoved her into the rocks. With wreck located, search turned rescue to recovery, but I refused to mourn yet. Daisy was canny. Maybe she'd abandoned ship before explosion. Then I remembered her watch fob in my lantern room. She, or at least her captor, had climbed the lighthouse. Could Daisy be alive ashore, held to silence? Next morning, I returned to the lantern room and studied vantage points. From balcony, I could survey all town. A prisoner hidden anywhere inside Whitefin Peninsula would see the rotating beam sweep overhead each night, its pulse a morse of hope. If Daisy was held, she'd note patterns. I decided to send her a code. I dismantled 2 of the lamp's coloured sector filters. By replacing red with blue intermittently, I could flash a sequence visible only from within 5 miles, enough for someone nearby, invisible to harbour watchers. That evening, while tourists snapped photos of the unusual sapphire glint, I flashed DAISY, repeating twice each revolution. At 22:17 answering signal, 3 fires ignited on Weaver's Bluff, the abandoned quarry across the estuary, arranged in triangle. I grabbed binoculars. Middle flame flickered thrice, pausing, then twice. OK, my chest hammered. Daisy alive, sending code from captivity. I sprinted down and cornered Bligh. "She's at Weaver's Bluff, torch signals." Bligh pressed lips. "Or smugglers. Can't divert resources based on bonfires." "Fine, I'll go myself." I borrowed Cleve Farnham's motorbike. He considered the attempt at rescue excellent betting theatre, and barreled along the cliff road. Fog thinned, moonlit shale glimmered. The quarry gates, rusted ajar, squealed as I entered. Firelight flickered behind a stack of marble blocks. I killed the headlight and crept. Someone coughed, a dry rasp. I edged closer, saw Daisy bound to a dolly cart, torch wedged between stones beside her. She heard pebble crunch, twisted. "Ilan," she hissed. I ducked from view, no guard in sight. I sprinted, knife drawn, cut her ropes. Her skin smelled of smoke and tar. "Can you walk?" "Try me," she whispered, flexing ankles. They left to dump Rusk's body. He grew conscious, threatened to talk. "Jeery." She nodded grimly. "Hired 2 thugs to seize the plover at buoy 4, rig explosion, pin-on engine fault. They dragged me here for leverage in case salvage plan soured." She lifted wrists, bruised. I pocketed my watch fob and kicked it through the tower grate when they took me up to scout the beam schedule. "Why bring you to the lighthouse?" "To ensure light went out when they torched it," she said. I refused. "They stashed the bomb, planned to ignite later, claim I died aboard." We hurried from quarry, but headlights stabbed the entrance, a Land Rover growling up the track. Daisy and I ducked behind rubble. The rover braked, voices cursed. Jeery's silhouette emerged, stalking toward the bonfire triangle. "Markham," he called, "enjoy sunset?" He noticed the empty dolly, swore. We crawled along a drainage trench to the far side of the quarry, climbed onto a ledge. Only route down was conveyor belt housing leading to the loading pier below. I tested metal steps, still solid. Daisy and I descended, while Jeery's men scrambled above, flashlights sweeping. At the bottom, path led to an old lime handling shed that opened onto tide flats. A skiff bobbed on a slip. We cast off quiet as breath, oars dipping. Gunshots cracked, wood splintered near the bow. Jeery's men reached pier, firing. I rowed while Daisy unlatched a flare gun from the kit strapped under bench. "Turn us," she ordered. I yawed starboard. She fired. The flare shrieked, arced, landed on pier fuel drums. Flames whooshed. Jeery's cursing echoed, then explosion blew pier planks skyward. Our skiff lurched with concussion. When we reached Whitefin shore, sirens already wailed. Seabrook, Bligh, Coast Guard boats converged, drawn by fireball. We hailed them. Daisy collapsed into medic blankets, voice hoarse but steady enough to name Silas Jeery, to recount sabotage and attempted murder. Morning newspapers sketched heroics. Captain Markham rescued. Lighthouse painter thwarts conspiracy. Jeery and surviving hands were arrested picking through charred rubble for evidence to destroy. Rusk's body surfaced farther north, weighted but dislodged by storm swell. Charges multiplied. The coastal fog competition resumed 1 week later in tribute to Daisy and the late deckhand who'd grown a conscience. Whitefin light shone unwavering, balcony rail newly storm-cloud blue. I finished that coat while Daisy watched from the lantern room chair, arm in sling. "You'll need repaint next season," she teased. "Then bring enough enamel without gasoline marinade," I replied. Fog bell tolled 6. Below, crowd roared for first racers. Daisy rose, tested shoulder. "Fancy sharing the beacon?" she asked. I stood beside her, both of us framed by revolving sapphire glow. Together we opened the shutters, cast brilliance into the grey where captains chased honour, some chasing luck, and one captain, returned by stubborn light, instructed the wind itself where to carry her next.